Oh yeah, sexy biscuits. Nice.
Long Boys Blues, 1975. YouTubers on the rise, reviewing games late at night and sometimes friends. But Long Boys Blues, 1975.
This is Frank Bruno's Boxing on the ZX Spectrum, released by Elite. I want to say, was this 1985 now? I'm including this in because you're probably going to say, well, hang on a minute, this isn't an arcade port. I'm including this in my current run of revisited games because this is basically Punch-Out. This is an absolutely fantastic... I'm not sure why that graphical glitch happens, but it did back in the day as well, I believe. But yeah, this is an incredible port of Nintendo's Punch-Out, the arcade game that was released in what? I want to say also 1985, maybe 1984. I mean, look at the layout, the top of it, the left-hand corner. What's his name? Now, because the names of the opponents, the first four opponents are complete rip-offs of Punch-Out in the arcade. And is he... Crusher, the Canadian Crusher, and obviously on the right hand corner it's Big Frank, because obviously Frank Bruno, certified legend in this country, and British World Heavyweight champion. He also remembers for his fight against Tyson where he, well, it wasn't flattering, but he was a pretty fucking shit hot boxer. He was massive, like, he was just huge, and he's an absolute legend. So the keys in this, also by the way, this was released Elite. Man, doing this series of videos, I forget what powerhouse company, software house if you will, Elite were. This was also released on the Amstrad, which is a port of the Spectrum but runs a little bit slower, and the Commodore 64, which is frankly not as good as a Spectrum. Call me a fanboy, but it's true. Now, you can see that it's Kempston Interface 2 or keyboard, and you're looking at the keys, and I'll explain them in a minute, because they are weird, but you do get used to them, and they do make sense. But this is a boxing game, because obviously it's Punch-Out, that you were never going to be able to do with one fire button. So let me get this right. One is raise your guard, A is drop your guard. So when you do that, that determines when you press I or O, which is left hand, right hand, determines whether you're going to throw a high punch, or like there, the throw, you know, a body blow, a rib shot, if you will, or then you put your guard up and then you can throw to the head. Any key on the bottom row is knockout, but you can obviously only do knockout. These are your fighter names. So yeah, number 2 is a little bit racist, but enter, go through screens. Right, so there you can see that. Right, it's a multi-load, so I'm only going to fight the first boxer because, yeah, it's a multi-load, and I'm playing this on my Retro Games of Spectrum, but I just don't get on with multi-loads on this. If I do a multi-loader game, excuse me, I'll play it on FBZX Wii, on my Wii, but I couldn't be bothered to download the ROM, so yeah. But also, you know, it's there where it says underneath status, so obviously that's his health, my health, and underneath knockout, which is just like Punch-Out, which you build your, you know, by subsequent hits and not getting hit back, you build up your knockout meter, which once you've got it at full, as long as you don't take a hit, you can just keep throwing haymakers. It's absolutely fantastic. Anyway, I was explaining the keys. So, 1 up, raise up guard, A, drop guard, Q, duck, U, this is where it gets a bit hand crampy, U is dodge left, P is dodge right, and then I is punch with the left hand, O is punch with right hand, and as I said, Q raise your guard or lower your guard accordingly. Right, so we're going to load the first fighter because I want it to introduce the fighter, and it does that. It won't do it if I hit replay. So load next fighter. There we go. Enter your first name. Enter. There you go, Canadian Crusher, the big, plodding lumberjack from Canada with the beauty of a grizzly bear and the speed of an elephant. Okay, have I got to do this again? So, yeah, this is... what was he called in Punch-Out? I don't know, I can't remember, but... little graphical glitch, it does that. But look at him. First of all, the sprite's shout, right, so, and then raise guard, right hand, oh, lower guard. It's apologies for the background noise. I do live on the busiest road in the West Country, and it's a 48k game only. Look at the way he sticks his tongue out. It's just so much charm in this. It is Punch Out. Is it 4 times? Right, here you go. Hey maker, look at that. He only throws it with that hand. The animation is superb. A little bit of graphical glitching going on. Obviously they didn't wireframe Big Frank. This is surprisingly difficult to do. He says, but he did it. And then the minute I talk, I lose the ability, dodge, to remember any of the key commands. Bosh, bosh. Look at me mixing it up. I'll make a fighter out of me someday. Thanks for the count. Crowd's a little static. I just think it's so much, the graphics so much sharper than the Commodore 64 version, and it's to its credit. Yeah, I saw you then. So yeah, apologies you're only going to get to see the first fighter, but sound is a bit. But what an amazing unofficial port of Punch-Out, and they got in no trouble for it whatsoever. I mean, that just blows my mind. Well, I mean, there were loads of hooky knockoff arcade ports back then, but did anyone get any trouble? Well, the funny thing is, right, they ripped off Punch-Out. Let's have a look at the boxes. So 1, Crusher. 2, Fling Chop. He's the karate guy, again from Punch-Out. 3, a Punchadov. 4, Tribble. Oh, I see what you did there. 5, Frenchie. 6, Ravia Mafiosi. 7, Antipodian. And 8, hang on, what's 8? Peter Perfect. Oh, yeah, so there you go. Yeah, so 5 of them. Cool. But yeah, now, Nintendo didn't do anything to this, being, you know, basically Punch-Out. I'm sure they could have sued them for this. But they went after the great Gianna sisters, didn't they? Which, ironically, weirdly ended up actually being released on the Game Boy Advance all those years later. Now, I can tell you as well, the fighters properly ramp it up in this. I don't think I ever got past the second fighter as a kid, but yeah, so it's a bit of a odd video in the sense that it's not an official port, but it's a fucking port of Punch-Out, and it's a really good port, and you can only see one fighter because of the way it loads multi-loaders on the Retro Games, the Spectrum. I love the Retro Games, the Spectrum, but its multi-loading system is shizen. Absolute shizen. Enter. Right, and then so replay. That's a nice option as well, give you it to replay. Because you've got your code now, so you can go to the next fire. But it doesn't mean that if you load it in once and you fuck up, or, you know, like on subsequent stages, that you have to go back to the beginning. Effort was put into this game. But I'd love to know if you played this back in the day. What version and what you thought. Concentrating. I'm not going to lie, I did it then. I seldom dodge. Maybe that's why I get the shit kicked out of me. Also, well, you know Punch-Out, don't you? I don't think he can block that. Awkward pauses. Yeah, obviously each character has their signature move, which they do now after they get off the canvas. Can he dodge it? Oh, you fucker. You can read their moves. I struggle at it, but they do give them away because, of course, they do. It's Punch Out. I know you can just keep hitting that, but I like mixing it up. And obviously, you can knock them out. Hence the fact because it's got a status bar, but without having to use your knockout, your haymaker. I don't know why he didn't throw his boom fist then. Hey, you can knock him out with a blow to the body as well. Cool. Good to know. Good to know. Would have liked 128K music, but let's be honest, it's good as, and I've mentioned this in all my gameplays of their arcade ports. Fantastic as Elite were, they did kind of drop the ball in their 128K. By having in their music and sound selection, by having I got those controls running through my mind, and they're crippling my mind as much as they are my right hand. But yeah, they did drop the ball. I always thought in the sound department. I mean, it wasn't terrible. It was good for 48. But why did we not ever get any AY chip goodness and some AY chip sound effects? And can't skip that, does it? Have to run that in, right? Photo fight. But yeah. I still think this graphically, apart from that little glitch there, looks absolutely fantastic. No, you don't. God, he's hammering me. Maybe this is why I should start dodging. That's so satisfying when you could just keep throwing them like that. I know, again, I can just keep haymakering in, but it's just fun to mix it up. The controls, once you play the keys, the fact that you got your 2 hits in between your 2 dodges, shizen balls, you do get used to it. And the key layout makes sense, because as I said, you were not doing this with one far button, so I don't know how it works with the joystick, because does it dodge for you, or does it decide which way you're gonna throw? I don't know. I've only ever tried it once on joystick, and I couldn't work out how to get it to or what the keys were when you were playing it on joystick, and then you have to find out, am I having to use keys as well? I don't know, but maybe someone can tell me what I've been going wrong all these years. But yeah, there's something weird with it. You know, play it, try it. Correct me if I'm wrong. That is the most Spectrum sounding sound I have ever seen. But yeah, look at it. Come on, tell me, argue with me that this is not the best home port of Punch-Out. Now, bold words, I know, but think about it. NES version is not a port of arcade Punch-Out. That's why I was never a fan of the NES version of Punch-Out. I don't argue that it's probably one of the best games on the system and it's iconic and it's good for what it is, and you know, looked great and stuff like that, but I loved Punch-Out as a kid. I sucked at it in the arcade, so I always thought that the fact that he never got like a proper home port, and obviously but it did on the Spectrum, but even though it wasn't on the Spectrum, if you know what I mean. So yeah, Frank Bruno's Punch-Out on the ZX Spectrum, absolutely the best boxing game on the system by far. Yeah, absolutely by far. Amazing controls, really tight, great graphics. Obviously characters are all nicked from Punch-Out. Poor sound, but basically Frank Bruno's boxing is just, it's Punch-Out on the Spectrum. Anyway, as always, I'd love to know what you think of this game back in the day. What was your favourite version? Thank you very much for watching. Imagine there was 16 bits back then of this. Oh, someone should get on that, hungry-wise. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you later.